Trevor. So why don't you kick us
Yeah.
off and introduce our special guest, and we'll get things
Yeah.
rocking.
Great. Great. Well, it's a guest that we've been wanting to have for a long time. He has a lot of great feedback, obviously, because he's been in the space for so long. So there's a ton of experience on this webinar. Obviously, we're going to have a ton of Q&A per usual. So please bring all the questions in the chat feature and the Q&A feature, and I'm going to monitor that the entire time. But we've got a good friend of HGA, and that's George Wooden of BW Unlimited Fundraising, of course, and also charity travel packages. And he's going to share some great stuff with us. Jason's got a great deck prepared today of how to create through donation and also through some other clever avenues, how to create just rockin' auction items. We're going to go mostly towards live auction, of course, as far as our direction, but these can apply to drawings and also your silent and online auction as well. So Jason Ledlow, HGA Group, Trevor Nelson as well. And then, as mentioned, our esteemed guest George Wooden will be chiming in. But thanks so much, everyone, for coming in. This is awesome. I can't believe the response. So this must be a topic that folks want to hear about. So we're happy to be delivering this to you all. So thanks a ton, and keep the questions coming. Everyone that's here, I know for a fact, has experience with auction items, with donated items, with consignments, all that good stuff. So please bring the questions. We'll get to every single one of them. We'll keep you under an hour, of course, per usual. Of course, stay till the very end, because we're going to do a drawing for an auction item from HGA fundraising that you can use at your next event. We'll take it from there, Jason. Appreciate it.
Okay. Trevor, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here today. We know your time's valuable. We are recording this, so we're going to send out recording the deck. You'll get everything, including all our contacts. So, while we at HGA Fundraising, we supply trips. I mean, we do trips and experience. We have HGA Bid, of course, to use it during auction items. George does supplies, has fantastic items that, can be purchased and stuff for resale and consignment. And for events, really want to focus on and is how to get these things through donation. One of the things that I get a lot is we talk to people all over the country. They're like, man, I'm really struggling to get things donated this year. And so I wanted to come back and just start talking about, kind of the why, the what, the how, and just how to tie it all together to go get those. Because there's a lot of thought, we put this together when we're doing things. But the thing is, it's the approach. I think that's where a lot of times we get caught up in, getting the, tables and getting sponsorships and different things underwritten, that we forget about the live auction, or we think that, we'll just go get some stuff for consignment, or, we'll call HGA up or George, we'll get this stuff. But I can tell you there's a lot of value in getting these items donated and how you can do it. And we've seen some fantastic high dollar items, and that can come, that things that we don't supply, we things that George doesn't have, and that's really where I want to talk about. And I'm going to kick off. So before I bring George, I've got some slides I'm going to pop up here, and I'm going to just kind of show this so that way we can do it. And then I'm going to get George back on here, and as well as Trevor, start talking about these things. And so the big thing is fundraising, how to solicit and build great auction packages. And the first thing that I think that, we want to go through is just what we're going to talk about today. Why are live auction items important? Why does one donate live auction items? What items work for my event? Who do we know? That's a really important piece. How do we bring it all together? And then just great donation ideas. And then obviously we're going to have Q&A. If you have questions throughout this, please don't wait. Just bring them up. And so the first thing I want to do is why live auctions, okay? Now, I don't know who this guy is holding the microphone, but it was a picture I found, so I didn't want to use mine. And George's, we do auctions as well, but that's not the point. The deal is, why do we do live auctions? And one of the reasons, that come in here is, number one, is to raise money. We want to advance our mission, have fun. But there's one more thing that I think it gets overlooked a lot with live auctions. And this is just again, these are my thoughts, opinions, experiences. I'm going to get George on here in just a second. And this is one I think that's really big, and that's to identify new donors. And one of the reasons why I think that's so important is, a lot of times I mean, and I want George to get his, I'm going to bring him back on because I want to get his opinion on this. How many times, George, have, you go to an event, you kind of know where all the big tables are and all the money and all the stuff, and you've got some item that's really high end, high dollar, and there's some guy or some lady or somebody that's sitting in the very back that nobody knows who they are, and they wind up raising their hand and spending $20,000 on something. Am I on to something there?
Absolutely. I tell my clients all the time, please don't try to think for your guests. You have no idea what people are willing to spend. And that ties into donated items too, when we talk about that. Oftentimes you have no idea who people are or what they can spend, or because if you only put an item up that has an intrinsic value of so much, they're only going to spend that much. But if you put up a priceless item or something that's really great or really cool, that you have no idea what they're ready to spend. I mean, I know some very affluent people, and I've seen some very affluent guests at our auctions who you would swear they were a mechanic. They walk in blue jeans and boots, but they've got $30,000 in cash in their pocket. So you have no idea who they are. That when you're doing the auction and these people pop up out of nowhere and they're bidding, it gets extremely exciting. Because one of the main reasons too is that, if you don't allow me to riff here for a minute, you've got three types of people who come to your event. You've got a high income, middle income, and a lower income. Higher income people are very highly competitive. Am I right, Jason? So
absolutely.
Highly competitive. And what they want to do is they want to compare wallets. So there's no better way, whether it's a donated item or a consigned item or whatever, there's no better way to pull out those competitive juices than in a live auction, because it gets them engaged. And then those people pop up out of the crowd and they're spending an enormous amount of money. And that's how absolutely the live auction identifies these people, because it gets them to raise their hand.
A big lag with you, George. Trevor, are you hearing? Can you hear? George, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. I think it's on my end. I'm sorry, everybody. I apologize. I don't think it or anything, but so I want to keep you going, George. I'm sorry. Please continue.
So when you're trying to identify these three people, there's three types of income. Like I said, high spenders, high income, middle spenders, and low spenders. And there's fundraising platforms in your event for all three of these types of income.
Absolutely.
Right. But when we're talking about the live auction and you put up something that, when you're going after donations, especially since that's what we're talking about, and you put up something that people don't see, or they're not used to seeing, or they get excited over something that's exciting, the best thing to do is get them in the live auction, and then they get excited because the live auction is also there, Jason, you know this, as for entertainment. Everybody loves to hear guys like you and I doing a chant. Mm-hmm. And they, because they're not regularly there. They don't regularly go to auctions. So it's there for entertainment. Your auctioneer is very entertaining and professional. So it gets them engaged, gets them excited. It gets their blood flowing very full of momentum. They then start spending money. And then you start identifying the people in the crowd. You had no idea that they were willing to spend $15,000, $20,000. I mean, I see it all the time.
Oh yeah. I mean, we were at an event years ago, and a guy comes out of nowhere, sitting at a table, came with another friend, was just a guest, paid $10,000 for a trip, because the executive director immediately reached out to that person after the event, followed up with, and talked to him. They wound up becoming on the committee, became a significant donor because they got behind the mission. And that's the thing that I want to just touch on real quick. And I'm going to kind of rip through this because I want to keep up this deal. Buyer follow-up. Follow up your event with a direct phone call. And when I say direct phone call, I understand everybody, people are busy, you just finished up the deal and you're kind of tired and you're like, oh my gosh, we just got this event. Most powerful fundraising tool you have is this right here. Pick up the phone and say, George, golly, thank you so much for coming to the auction and bidding and buying that. It really means a lot to us and our mission. Thank you so much. They're going to remember that. They're going to tie that. They're going to remember the mission. And also, whenever they do that experience or whatever it is, they're going to keep that mission in place. following up, being thoughtful, talking to them, because don't make an ask then, but, thanking them and making that personal connection, because you may have just identified somebody who's going to give you the next 50,000, 100,000, $1 million donation that you have. You don't know. And especially if you don't know them and that's the first time they come in. So that's why do we do these things? So going back to the next section here, why would somebody want to donate something to your live auction? I think this is really interesting because people go, well, they think just because they've got something or they're whatever, and why would they do it? And I'm going to tell you right now, it's this reason right here. They don't do it because they just happen to, it just doesn't happen. Just because I base in Aspen, Colorado, I don't, but if I did, that I just want to donate it to people. That's not what I'm here. Just because I happen to have a private plane or a jet, which I don't, but if I did, I'm not sitting there going, oh yeah, I'm just looking for people to donate it because I just like to burn gas. They do it because they care about your mission. And the reason that they're going to do is the mission. So do not get off base. Remember that and keep that in mind, that the mission is what gets people to donate. That's why they put stuff together. And we've got some examples we're going to talk about here in just a minute. But I really want that to be the crux of this. Is it's about your mission. So this is where going to get George back in this. What items work best for my event? Well, the first thing that you got to do is, who's in your crowd? What's the capacity of your crowd? Who are the known buyers? What will make them take action? And George mentioned it just a while ago. He said, you've got people that are very wealthy that could get competitive and get excited about it. Well, nobody wants crap. We all know this from being through COVID. I can get on Amazon and I can have a whole pile of it on my front door tomorrow. Okay. That's not what we're here trying to talk about. So the things that, get motivated. So George, what do you think about that?
Well, like we talked about earlier, Jason, there's so many myths charity myths from the 1980s. Everybody's still believing the same old, tired myths, gift baskets, gift certificates, and they all follow the same track. And I see it all over North America. But what happens is people will go to one charity event, and I call this broken spoke fundraising. They'll go to one charity event and they'll see all these things and they'll think, wow, I need to get those things. And then they'll go after the same thing. So it's a reiteration of the same thing over and over and over again. Well, what people need to do is, when they're thinking about donations or items in specific for the live auctions and silent auction, you've got to think about things that are going to excite people and not bore them to tears. For instance, a gift basket. I always ask my clients, and I say it, and then when they do it, you hear crickets. Is everybody's always talking about gift baskets. Well, the problem with gift baskets is, I ask them this: how many gift baskets did you give away to your family or friends for Christmas? And normally it's 0. So I say, exactly, because nobody's really after them. And then gift certificates, you see that commonly. Have you ever walked into a restaurant and bought yourself a gift certificate? And everybody says no. That's why they're called gift certificates. Well, we have to use them in a much wiser setting that we're going to bring. And they only, a lot of donated items that aren't very, very snazzy or popular are only bringing an eighth to almost a half of retail. There's a way to get 5 to 10 times retail on another platform. Mm-hmm. But if we're going after donations, we have to sit down and be strategic about it. If you have a fundraising professional who is part of your gang, your team that you've brought on, ask your fundraising professional, whether it's an auctioneer or somebody or anybody, whether it's my company or somebody else's, Jason, somebody, Trevor, ask them what they think, because we know the kind of auction items. For instance, in my area, what I know, and I've seen this happen, is like a homemade quilt, a hand-stitched quilt. I have sold quilts for $10,000 before. So there's so many great ideas. Just ask, but don't repeat the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, I think that's something that happens a lot of times, especially with donations. I'm going to give you an example. There's an organization where there's one of the board members. He has a place to the lake. It's not that nice. It's okay. It's not terrible, but every year he wants it in the live auction. Well, the problem is everybody knows it's there. It's always there, and it's taking up a slot, and it's only brings like $1,500. And I say only, that may be a lot of money for somebody on this deal for their live auction, but in this case, 1,500, where the average is over $5,000. If you take, 5,000 per item. So you take that one item out, their average goes up. So they're missing out on valuable revenue, using up a slot for that. So be careful about doing that.
Well, can I interject here just for 1 minute?
Please.
Exactly what you just said. I see this repeated, right? So when I'm asked to do an auction and they've got John's vacation home, I talk about this all the time on our video blogs and written blogs. John's vacation home. Well, one thing that Jason, as every time you put up John's vacation home, the audience drops and drops and drops each year. So 1 year you may maximize it at 1,500 at a maximum. It's going to come down the next year. The audience drops. The people who didn't bid or still aren't going to bid on it, and it drops each year. But every year you want it in a live auction.
Well, yeah, because you've got 5 people bid on it the first year. Well, somebody wins it. Then you got 4 people that bid on it. Then 3, right. Then 2, then 1. And now maybe you don't have anybody new that cares about going to John's vacation home.
Well, the other thing is they know that they can go over to John and say, "Hey, John, can I use your house on these dates?"
Exactly. Yeah.
So, you have to bring it in once and let it go.
Yep. I think that it's so important, just to stay away from repeating those items and to really be thoughtful about it, which I'm going to pop back to a slide real quick. And, what's going to make them take action? I believe there are 3 main food groups, item groups: travel, access, and once in a lifetime. And travel, that means domestic destinations, international destinations, and beach destinations. That's where everybody wants to go to one of those things. So domestic means it can be anything: Florida, Colorado, New Mexico, Maine, whatever. International, whether it's going to Italy, which Cortona is smoking hot. George will tell you, he just does phenomenal. Access, that means people, politicians, local celebrities, public servants, just somebody knows how do we get access to something that you just cannot buy, you cannot get to? Back to that intangible, unknown value of what it is. It's worth what everybody says. And then once in a lifetime, bucket list, special occasions, things like that. So I would love to hear, George, you give some examples of maybe some of those categories that we just talked about.
Well, as you know, I just came back. Me and our management team just came back from Idaho. We were out in Twin Falls, Idaho. We spent a lot of time out there. And you got to understand, I'm in Maryland, right? So we fly all the way out to the other side of the country. And while we were out there, we had they had a couple donated travel packages, and really it was struggling. I was pulling teeth trying to get buyers in on those. Well, then pops up an all-inclusive. It was a combination trip. You either choose between Mexico or the Caribbean, all-inclusive, right? 5 nights, your choice, all these different places. So we put it up for auction, and the room caught fire. We wound up selling 15 of those trips at $3,000 a piece. Then coming right off of that, I was like, well, we're going to go into this Tuscany package. It was an incredible taste before you go for 4 people. We sold 8 of those trips for $8,000. Within 2 trips, 8 trips for $8,000, 15 of the all-inclusives. Within 2 trips, the charity netted $52,000. $52,000 for those trips. I know charity auctions out everywhere else that aren't even getting anywhere near $50,000, and we did it in 2 trips. So absolutely, people are looking for something that is not like they see. We have to understand all the charities out there. The competition is stringent. It is tight. It is we're trying to get everybody's attention. Why are they going to come to your event? Well, if you've got really great stuff, they're coming. Unlike the one down the road who's got gift baskets and gift certificates and the same old used things, it's withdrawal.
So what is like something like a special access or something donated that you've seen that was really, really just did real well? I've got a couple of things I can think of just right off the top of my head, but tell me something that was just, you saw that was really cool.
For special access?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I happen to be good friends with a guy, with a well-known rock star, Gene Simmons, and Gene donated a trip to one of my clients. He's a big supporter of the armed forces, and I do a lot of armed forces events because of my background, Jason. You know.
Oh yeah. But by the way, everybody, just so y'all know, and if George and I kind of like take little digs at each other at some point, he's a retired cop, I'm a retired firefighter. It's just part of the gig because, you know, meter maids and crossing guards over here, you know, that's just what they do. So,
right. So Gene's a big armed forces guy. So I do all these armed forces events. Gene offers up a meet and greet before concert and upfront tickets and everything else. But I mean, the access to somebody like that is tremendous, right? No. So that sold crazy, like $20,000. And then he wound up donating. I called him and he wound up donating another one to that event. The other one is like, you know, somebody who's very popular. This happens all the time. You know, somebody very popular in the community or something like that. And people are, like you said, they're all about your mission, right? They know where the money's going. I see it all the time. They know where the money's going. Yeah. You offer up a lunch with this person. It could be a politician. It could be some really good looking guy or girl in your crowd that everybody adores. That's a sweetheart, or the president of your charity. Lunch with that person or something like that. It goes absolutely nuts. Okay. Coming from my area, Jason, when I do a lot of law enforcement events all over the country, as Trevor can tell you, I'll go to like a different police department and say, hey, how about being a police chief for a day? Or I've done a lot of firefighter events.
Absolutely.
How about fire chief for a day? That all you got to do is ask. It's all about the ask.
And we're going to come, and I'm going to come back around to some of this stuff in a minute. So you see really quick, you know, being the fire chief for a day, being the police chief for a day. I just did an event. We had a dinner. They had a chef prepared dinner. It's at your home for like 6 people. They had the in our state, so it was the state minority leader and the state majority leader, okay, of the House representatives here. Actually, one was a Senate, it doesn't matter, but they got them to do it. They were very, very thoughtful about the mission. They were very strong behind the mission. They did the dinner. They raised $15,000 with these 2 dinners, just like that. All of it was donated, okay? Because of the access, because it's not, you can't just pick up the phone and go, hey, I'm going to have a dinner and just show up. Now, politicians, don't give them the microphone. Don't let them get up there and talk. Don't do that, because they'll talk for an hour and a half. But because it means something to them, because number one, they support that mission, your mission, if they do. And if it's somebody that you've done like legislative work with and you're doing that, don't underestimate the power that has in your room and people who do want that access. And the people that are spending the money, again, they believe in your mission as well. So they're going to show up and do it. You know, this is a real interesting thing. And I was just special access. He just turned 18 yesterday. I think that my wife bought 3 or 4 special access birthday party things for him over the years. We had a party where I'm in Oklahoma City, and the Thunder basketball team Rumble came to our house, you know, guns ablazing, all this crazy stuff. And the mascot came and did it. And I don't remember what she gave, but it was like $3,000 or $4,000 that she paid for it. We had another deal where it was to be the ball boy for the University of Oklahoma baseball team. And during the Big 12 tournament, he got to be the ball boy. She paid a whole lot of money for that too. I'm just saying, she really loves our youngest son. But those things are really, they're accessible to you. They're special, that you can't just go get that. You know, you just can't go, hey, I want to go have my son be the ball boy. They're very special access. But it's about who you know. And so we'll talk about how you get that access and how you do that. How, as an organization, how you leverage the people you know to get that access.
Well, if I could just say something real quick, please. Jason. Listen, it's all about the art of the ask. It's getting over the ask. I'll tell you, yes, it's great to have a connection. But if you don't have a connection, what's stopping you from asking? Yeah. Just ask, because listen, some of these people are never asked. They're never asked. That's why, like in an auction, why a fund a need or the powder race works. Go ask. You're not going to lose anything, it's only going to take you a little bit to go ask for these donations. Go ask. Figure out something crazy you think people would get, and just ask. You'd be amazed.
Oh, it's incredible. Like I said, most powerful fundraising item right here is your phone.
Yep.
So back to, those lists and items. So these are the three things. One of the things that I think is really important, decide what's going to work for your group and do it before you start sitting there trying to figure out how you're going to get it. Think about what it is you want to do. And here's a way to break it down for your committees, your boards, especially, because a lot of times, everybody sits around a committee and they go, well, gosh, I don't know. Well, wouldn't this be cool? Well, sometimes you can get ideas that way, but break it down. Hey, let's think about where we want to go. Do we know anybody that has a place here? Do we know something international? Do we have who do we have access to? And I'm going to come to that here in just a second, because I want to get back to, this next piece. And I'm not just trying to rip through this, and we're going to send these slides to you, so you'll do it. So this is the deal. Who do we ask? Now, I think this is really important because, as George just said, you don't necessarily need to know somebody, but boy, how many times, I can't tell you how many times we've started going through the list and they go, yeah, I don't know who to ask. And we do a what I call a people exercise, the people, PYN, and we find out that we have $1 million worth of giving capacity. Everybody's connected to, one phone call away, that they know how to do it, and they don't even access it. So something I like to do, and I'd love to get your take on this in just a second, George, is make a list of everybody the organization knows, the board knows, the committee knows, the staff knows. And the way that you do this, pick up your phone and just have everybody writing them down. When you're next in your next board committee, hey, I want to know everybody who you think that's not in this room. Pull your phone out, start in the A's, go all the way to Z's if you have to, and start writing them down. Put them up on a big board. We do this with organizations all the time, and we'll identify 300 people. Because if everybody sits around and tries to think of somebody, they'll go, well, golly, I don't know. Maybe, I wish we could get Harold Ham to come. He's a local billionaire here in Oklahoma. Unless you can pick up the phone and call him, you're not going to, it's going to take too long. You're not going to get there because he don't have access to him. But what happens is you start going down the list and just think about people that would care about it. We'll get to what they can do and just afterward get the list, but we get the list. Then the next thing we do, can they write a check for $10,000 and not miss it? This is just to understand capacity. Doesn't mean I'm going to ask them for 10. Maybe I'm going to ask them for 100, but at least I know they can write a check for 10,000 and not miss it. They've got plenty of capacity. Can they fill a table with somebody that'll come and spend money? Are they connected in the community with other people? And then finally, do they have access? Do they own a jet? Do they have a vacation property? Their sister's an astronaut. It could be any of those things. But as we go through that list and we start building this list, then we say, okay, I know George has got his own jet. I don't think George does, but let's just say George has a jet, and Trevor, will use him. Trevor's got special access. He happens to be friends with Opus, the vineyard at Napa, best friends with somebody there. And so we start talking about, hey, set up a question. Oh, we know that Trevor has special access, and Trevor says, absolutely, I can get that done. We call George. Hey, George, we're putting together this special trip. Would you be willing to put your plane in it? Because I know that George cares about our organization. How do I know that George cares? He just gave us $50,000. And one of the things, and George, I want to get your take on this. One of the things I see when asking for donations, especially like for live auction trips, I'll say, well, why don't you ask George? And they'll go, well, he just, he's our top sponsor. He just gave us $50,000. I'm like, good. Then he believes in your mission. Ask him anyway. He wants this to be successful. He wants your mission to happen. So, and I'm going to give you an example real quick. And I'm not going to use any names, but I did an event recently. They had that exact trip. It was to Opus. The guy donated his jet. He was also the top sponsor of the whole night. So he wrote a big check. He put his jet up, and then he paid $60,000 to take the trip himself. Now he actually got 2 guys to partner with him because it's his jet. He's already spending the $15,000 for the jet. So he was like, yeah, man, I got a great, I talked to him afterwards. He goes, dude, I got a great deal, man. I got it for 35 grand. That's awesome. That's what he thought. It's his jet. And he said, and all he cared about, his number one deal was the mission. He didn't care about the money. He didn't care about the deal. He wanted the mission to be successful. And do not underestimate the people that you have there. And here's another way to ask. If I say, George, you're just such a great, you're really sponsoring, you're doing this great thing. I'm asking, would you be willing to put your jet in this auction? We're going to tie it with Trevor has got somebody to Napa, and we can help get some other people involved and help do the mission. I know you could do it yourself, but I'm not asking you to do that. I'm asking, would you do that? What's he going to do? Say no? Of course he is. Now he may not, he may say, well, you know what? I'd rather not do that, but here's what I can do. Most of the time, people that have capacity, he may say, look, I can't do my jet, but here's what I will do. I happen to have a house in Napa, and what we'll do is I'll put everybody up at my place. We'll drink out of my wine cellar. You can go to Opus. We'll do that. And, and just make this trip better. That's how these things happen. It's a conversation. So don't get tunnel vision on what you're asking for.
I'd like to interject 1 minute. First off, I know that Trevor said something that there's some questions, but we're talking some really big things here. We're talking about Opus and we're talking about jets and all that. But we got to think right down the center of the United States. Let's think right down the bread basket in the United States, where people don't know anybody with jets or whatever. But I always tell my clients this: if identify what you want. When you walk into a store, into a place or whatever, and you walk in and you say, "Hi, would you please donate?" They're going to look around and say, "Yeah, I'll give you this tape roll." No, walk in, find something that you want and ask for that thing. Ask for it. But you don't have to know the people. Ask them. When you're talking about, like, there's something else that you're talking about, Jason. You're talking about something when these people are bidding, these big sponsors that are writing these big checks. Well, let me tell you, there could also be really great people to ask to sit on your board, because they know other influential people and they'll attract. It's like a magnet. Money follows money. So, absolutely positively, ask them what they'll do, because believe it or not only will they love your mission, a lot of times too, is some of these people want to tie in their business, then you like to get a little bit of advertisement out of it. So they're loving your mission, and absolutely exactly what Jason just said. Ask them. It doesn't matter. You're not going to offend anybody by asking them, because they know. So,
well, and just like your point is, if I'm trying to figure out what people that have money want to go do, ask the people who have money that have that capacity to spend, go ask them. And if it's in the, like I said, we're talking about a trip that brought $60,000, but let's just say it's let me give you, I'm going to flip around and give you another example. So another organization, they were looking a little short. They needed some stuff. And I said, and I don't normally do this, but it worked out this way. So I'll give you this example. A friend of mine owns a restaurant in town. And I said, hey, Ennis, hey, such and such organization, they're having this event. I said, we'd like to put together a really cool dinner. I said, would you be willing to do it? I said, I'll help you get the food covered, the food costs covered. He was shut down for a year, okay, in COVID. So I'm not going to ask him to come and do this. But I said, could we do a dinner in the private room? You prep it, set the staff. I said, we'll cover the food costs. We'll get that done. And I said, and I'll get some cool wine. We'll put some wine in this thing, and we'll make it kind of a tasting deal and have a cool deal. They sold it twice for $2,400. It was just dinner at a restaurant for 8 people. That's all. And all it did was ask. Don't go and say, hey, would you guys be willing to donate a gift certificate? Say, would you be willing to do a dinner for 4, maybe a chef's table, maybe something like that. And, and just so you know, the food cost for that was like $400. So, I mean, it's not a whole lot of.
Jason, you just said something. Oh my gosh. I wish I could like take it and broadcast it. Charities have got to understand something. Like you just said you offered your friend to cover the food costs. Sometimes it's good to, you got to spend money to make money.
Mhm.
So why not do it? Know that you got to spend some money. The charity myth that everything's got to be donated. No, build these things, that build it and they will come. You build that package and people are going to respond. I'm really proud of you for saying what you just said. Hey, we're going to cover the food costs, because that not only did him a great deal because he's coming out of COVID. We were all impacted by COVID. But if we can get that across to our clients, our charity clients, that sometimes you got to spend money to make a lot of money. So,
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. And just being creative and thinking about who you know. I know him personally. I mean, he's a friend of mine. So, I didn't go to a chain restaurant and go to some manager who, he's got an executive VP or a general manager, a regional manager, and 3 layers up to get the yes on it. I went to a place where I'm talking to the guy that owns it. He's writing the checks. He can make a decision in an instant. He wants to help. But like I said, he's holding on, he's running on just now getting things going and back going up. So, it's a benefit to him to be able to have people come into the restaurant and know what he does and sees that and be a part of the community. But you got to really reach out and be willing to work with people and be specific about the ask. Or say, what is it that hey, we're trying to have something for this event. We want something really cool. Do you have any ideas?
Mark just asked the question, Jason, something about a donated trip.
Oh yeah. If you have a donated trip that has lost its shine at your event, see if you can trade it with another nonprofit in a different area. That is a phenomenal.
I have a better idea.
Yeah.
You want to hear my idea?
I do.
Raffles.
Yeah.
We're on a raffle.
That's
everybody. People will sooner listen. I see this all the time. People will sooner give you a $10 bill or $100 bill, $100 bill to buy a chance to win that trip. Like we're familiar with the golden ticket.
Yeah.
Convert it into a raffle. Sell raffle tickets to it. You'll get, if the thing normally sells for $1,500 in the auction, you may make $5,000 on it.
Oh yeah.
Because everybody in the room, listen, this is what we're breaking it down to. Now you get me all excited, right? So you got the high income, the middle income, and the low income. Everybody can buy raffle tickets in that group. There's fundraising platforms for each one of those 3. Sell it on a raffle. You'd be amazed. People will buy raffle tickets to win it. That's how you use it.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is, don't pencil and start early. Okay. Start, as you get this list and you're talking about, and we're going to talk about underwriting here in just a second, but as you're looking for sponsorship and underwriting and, doing different things, there's so many ways you can use these things to raise a significant amount of money and to make that ask. So, this is the who. So bringing it all together. Okay. So now you've got your list, you're combining, combined donors, get your list of everything that you want. Put together a list of people that and then combine donors to create awesome packages. I was telling George this while ago. We sold a Harley Davidson several years ago. Brings $35,000. Now they got it. It cost $15,000. But what they did instead of doing that, they went and got 10 people to combine to underwrite it. One of the things that I see that happens a lot is people get caught up and they go to one person and I want George to use his jet, his place in Napa. I want him to make the deal and him to set everything up. And he may well do that. But what if we said, hey, George, you've got a beautiful home. Would you be willing to host a dinner? I've got a chef who's willing to donate. He's going to cook. We're going to take care of the food. We've got Trevor. He's going to supply the wine, and we're going to have a great dinner. Would you and your wife be willing to do that? Bring the mastiffs out and everybody see a dog show.
Right, there you go.
And then go out and pet the chickens. And you make it easy for them to do it. But if you help them, how can they're so much, they're more apt to say yes when you help them understand what they're getting into. But if I just go, hey, George, hey, would you be willing to have a dinner at your home?
Right.
Well, okay, what am I getting into? Because then I got to go to my wife and she's going to go, oh my gosh, what did you do?
Right.
So you got to really think about this stuff, gang, and be thoughtful about these donations that you put together. Be thoughtful about how, you're somebody who their sister's an astronaut. Okay, what is it that I'm asking for? Well, what am I asking for? Maybe it's dinner with her. Maybe she can't do it because, she's busy, but maybe we can get some memorabilia. I mean, there's just all kinds of really cool ways you can access.
Tina just asked a question. I saw it come over, Jason.
It's actually Tim Campbell. Yeah, Tim Campbell had a question, guys.
Okay. Was it about how many raffles you can have at one event?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's a
good to hear from you.
Okay. So this is a great question. Thank you for asking this question. It's believe it or not, if you had 15 raffles, it all depends on the answer is it all depends on how many people you have at your event. Can you guys see me, by the way?
Yes. You're good.
My screen just went blank. It all depends on how many people you have at your event. For instance, we just did the one that we did in Idaho had about 180 people, and we had 3 different raffles. And there are different types of raffles, right, that appeal. So if you had 15 different raffles, you had so many raffles. A couple of years ago, we did a 3-year study on all kinds of different things. We found that if you had 10 to 15 raffles at every event, Jason, you're not going to believe this. Me and my staff sat down for 3 years and counted raffle tickets with names. I swear to you. Out of 10 to 15 raffles, how many do they play? They play 3 of those. So you don't want to over maximize. You don't want to put 50 million different raffles going on at one time, but there's use. And this is a great way. In fact, it introduces me to be able to tell you that 80% of the donated items that you're going to get are what I consider raffle qualified. So because they'll bring much more money. So you got to be conservative. You have to be conservative. And it also depends on what kind of crowd you have. If you're having a black tie event, well, the raffles have to change. If you're having what we call a bash, or out here in Maryland, we call them bull roast, where it's jeans and a button-down shirt, all different raffles. But it all depends on the amount of people, because you can only get so much money out of them. And you do not ever want anybody to feel like you're squeezing them, wringing them out for every dime that you can get.
So, I recommend 5. The maximum of 5 fundraising generators. So if you have a live auction, that's 1, a silent auction, that's 2, maybe a fund to need, that could be 3. And then, if you've got 2 left and you have 2 different raffles, but make them different. And the reason I say that is back to what you just said, George. That's my recommendation. It doesn't mean that you can't have 6, but I mean, like I did an event in Texas one time, they had 23. The very next year, I got them down to 12. They raised $200,000 more. The next year, they raised another like $350,000, and we did 7. So I mean, less is more, because after you ask somebody and after they've paid like 2 or 3 times, like you said, they're done. They've kind of like, I've donated, I'm good. Because what do they want to do? They want to get back to drinking and hanging out with people and eating and being with people. That's what they want to do.
You don't want to shake them down. You don't want to shake them down. You don't want to be too heavy-handed. And again, like I consider the fund to need as not part of that, just in my own opinion. I want to get to, I don't mean to cut you off, George. We're going to send all this stuff out because I want to hit this last thing just with some auction ideas. And I'm just going to rip through these real quick. We're just going to talk about them real quick because they're kind of hitting the categories. Private jet trip and concert, weekend at a lake cabin, beach house, wine trip, Italian getaway. These are auction ideas. Now, whether you can get them sourced, whether you have to go get them donated, whatever. One of the things is this third category right here: extreme sandbox, police training academy, firefighter for a day, birthday party at the fire station, and this last one, dinner with the mayor, private wine dinner, fishing trip with a pro bass fisherman, sing with a band. You'd be surprised how much this stuff. We did an event where they had a band. These are a duo. These guys had been on The Voice. They came in, they were doing the still, and we auctioned off a chance to get up and sing 1 song with the band. It brought $9,000 because, again, it's intangible. You can't go buy that somewhere else. It's not, and the people that were bidding on it,
They cared about the mission. They didn't, what this is worth had nothing to do with it. They cared about the mission, and it became fun and competitive because they get to say who got to get up and sing with the band. Extreme Sandbox. You've got somebody that's on your board that has a construction company. Say, hey man, what if we put together a deal to go out here where somebody got to drive a bulldozer, run a grader, it's not something that you may sit there and go, well, nobody wants to do that. I do. That stuff, I grew up on a farm. I don't get to drive tractors and combines anymore, but I operate an equipment. It's something that somebody might never get to do. And don't underestimate the power of what it's going to happen in your room and who's going to buy it. So just keep your mind open to these things of what you have access to. George, I want to get to this next part because we've got just a few minutes left. We're going to do the drawing for the last person, so nobody leave. I know we got some questions. What's a good way to get new donors? I'd like to build more traction. Back to that exercise. Here's how you get more donors. Who do we know? I'm going to just pop real quick and just tell you, you've got to get to who do you already know? And one of the questions is, who can write a check for $10,000? Who can fill a table? When you go and get like a bank, it's perfect. Everybody goes into the bank, and what does the bank do? Bank buys a table. Unless I go, hey, Trevor, I'm asking you to come and to buy a table at our event, but I'm asking, don't just give the tickets away. I'm asking for you and Shelby to bring, 6 of your rich friends and come to this and to be there and really engage. I need you there. That is
I like to add into that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
Here's how I have a really great get new donors. Put out a really great event. Build a really great event. You're going to attract a lot of people. That's one of the things we tell our clients all the time. Let's build you an incredibly great event. That's going to attract people. That's going to attract all kind of people. And the more people, the new people you attract to this event, and you're the same. Listen, you said something. Now I'm going to use this, Jason. Sorry, my firefighter brother. Listen, you're talking about people going down through their phone, 300 people. Do you know if you could identify 300 people that you could get something from? Do you know that if you sold a table to 300 people, you're talking about a guest list of 3,000 people? You can build an event, a huge event with a lot of show up, and you're making profit on tickets. It's about building a great event. Build it and they will come. Everybody wants to go to exciting. I always say hype, 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 hype. And people are always asking me, why your events have 1,000 people? Well, it's because it's exciting. Build a great event. Tamara's got a question. What's an easiest, what does it say?
What's the easiest way to revive an event on its 20th anniversary? 1,600 women, lots of gift baskets. Don't have a single gift basket.
Yeah. Honestly, ask for help from a fundraising professional.
Yeah. Here's the thing is, you just said it. It's our 20th anniversary. We're going to change it up. We're going to shake it up. And one of the things that you cannot mail these in. Great events you cannot just sit back and go, well, okay, committee, we're going to do this. You've got to get a driver, and you've got to have somebody who's going to go drive that event, who's not going to take no for an answer, who's going to be willing to push. And that's where you've got to back to who do we know? And guess what? The best people that are going to do that are people that are already writing you checks because they care about your mission, and their enthusiasm is going to be contagious to other people. If you're the executive director or the director of development and you're making all the asks, that's a really tough job. And I know some people that are phenomenal at it. I mean, they're really good, but you've got to really drive in there. We're about done. We've got just a few minutes left. I want to just kind of keep going on questions. And I have another deal real quick. I'm going to zip through this really quick because I want to touch base on it. My auction is upcoming. We're running short of items. Go back to your list. Get large capacity donors to underwrite live auction items. This is one of the things and George has a lot of experience of this as well as I do. I've got an event that we work with down in Texas. They underwrite everything. If there's a live auction item that comes up, they're going to go through their list and they're going to sit there and they're going to call until they find somebody who says, yeah, I'll underwrite that. Put me down. and they get everything donated, everything. Then they turn around and auction it off. So even if they have to go buy it, even if they go to George and say, hey, George, that signed Brady jersey back there, I want to put this in. I want to put this in my live auction because I know it's going to be a phenomenal. You know, we're all down here, you know, Patriot fans, we want to do this, or maybe it's something else that he's got, which he's got incredible stuff, by the way, that you cannot get anywhere else. And get somebody to underwrite it. People love to do that because people that have capacity to give, I'm talking about like, and write a check for $10,000 and not miss it. They may have a house in Aspen that they really don't want to donate because maybe they're scared of COVID. Maybe they just don't want anybody else in their house. But you've got something like this that you can sell for $10,000, $15,000. And it's going to cost them whatever it's going to cost them. They'll say,
you had said in one of your things that about having these one of a kind, all about travel. And I'm sitting there reading it thinking, well, how about other things?
Yeah,
I'm telling you, here's something we tell our clients all the time that, you know, you're talking about travel and all these different things. For instance, we just did a Peyton Manning autographed and framed jersey out in Idaho, right? It was sponsored. It was all underwritten. It was completely underwritten by a company called Plant Energy. Well, completely sponsored. It sold for $3,000. Guess what the charity made? $3,000. So many people can't, like, we all want to believe, and because there's so many charities in the United States, many of them aren't at those big levels, right? However, a lot of people can't sponsor at $5,000, $10,000, $2,500, $1,000, but they can sponsor like silent auction items. They can sponsor lower end auction items, $250, $50, or $500 or whatever. We put a catalog together and send it out to our clients, and then they take that catalog around and they ask people to sponsor it. And then we just put 10 cards out in front of everything. You could, like Jason just said, you can have the entire event sponsored. You can have Jason, your auctioneer, sponsored. You know, you can have whatever your costs are sponsored. It's just asking. And one of the things too is this: don't forget the advertising component. A lot of people want to be advertised, and how can they get great advertisement? By writing a check to your charity.
Well, we just did an event. I just did an event that we had the golden ticket raffle, golden ticket trifecta. They used our golden ticket, cost $19.95. They didn't get one. They got two sponsors at $2,500 a piece. So they start making money. They sold 100 tickets for $150 a piece. So 15,000. So they make 20,000, cost them. And we sold one at live auction, 23.5, I think, was the gross, and it cost them 4,000. They made almost 20,000, right at $20,000 net money, because they just simply picked up the phone and asked, hey, we're having the golden ticket raffle. We're going to get 100 people to give $150 for a chance. Would you be willing to give 5,000? We've got another client that did two of them for $4,000 a piece, and they're going up next year because they sold them so quick. She said, wow, they sold quick. We're going to raise the price next year because it was so popular. The other people were saying, how can I sponsor that? Don't underestimate, because people may not, if they don't have access, they have cash. And that's how you can buy the access, get them to underwrite it, and everybody wins. Mainly what wins is your mission. And that is the biggest thing that you've got to keep in front of them, again, is your mission. That's why people will do this.
I think it's super smart. Yeah, you're talking about that idea that you just had about from one year to the next. Once folks see how well the turnout is for sponsorship and underwriting for particular items, there's going to be a clamoring for it year in and year out. And if you're playing the long game, of course, you're going to have more and more interest, and that equates to more dollars for your organization. I love that feedback. I think that's fantastic. We preach underwriting every week, George, so this is right in your wheelhouse. I think this is awesome. Really, really good feedback.
Underwriting is absolutely positively the key. Sponsorship of the items. Yeah. Everybody's so used to sponsoring the event, you know, gold, this, that, and the other. Yeah. Go after the items. And that's a great way to get great items for your silent auction, your live auction.
Here's the easiest way to do it. Here's the very, very easiest way to do this. Make a list of everything that you're going to underwrite. Everything. Doesn't matter. The stage, the lights, the bathrooms. I mean, there's people, some people, they sell it for $4,000. Make a list of everything. Live auction item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever you want to do. Put that out there and let them choose. Then you send a list and says, hey, George, And as soon as somebody, take the same list, and as soon as somebody takes it, get your marker out, write sold on it, and then send that next one out. That way they know things are being bought up. I'm making a small plug. HGA Bid, when somebody buys something like that with our software, and they use it for the underwriting and the enhanced giving page, it says sold. So that way they know it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's back to the thing. Hey, I better get in here quick or it's going to be gone. And it gets people to motivates them to make a decision to do that.
Yep.
Hey, Diana had a question about the golden ticket. Diana, we're going to email you how we run the golden ticket. It doesn't have to be our way. We just have a lot of success with it. We have 3 more minutes to draw our winner.
Yeah, we promise we'll get you out of here in an hour, but we definitely will follow up with that. And we've got a link.
Diana, we will email you that.
We'll send that with a link with all the past stuff that we've got on YouTube. We've got all these on YouTube, so you can go through and see that. So our winner today, for a trip that you can use in your very next fundraising to absolutely free, that you can use in your next fundraiser to raise more money, is Janice Chalovich. I hope I said that right. Janice.
All right, Janice.
Congratulations.
All right.
Hey.
Right on, Janice.
George, thank you so much for coming and sharing time with us.
Thanks for the energy, George.
You're welcome. I appreciate you having me.
Hey, and just so you guys know, we're going to put George on the email when I send it out to everybody. I'll send the recording, I'll send the slides, and I'm going to put there on there. Please feel free to reach out to George. If you've got any questions, you don't have to just reach out to him about if you want some memorabilia or some of the great stuff. If you've got a question about something, reach out to him. Same thing with us, me, Jason at HGAfundraising.com, Trevor at HGAfundraising.com. We want to help you raise more money. And, we hope we'll see you back here next week. And oh, by the way, for those of you that are clients, Morgan is in labor right now having my grandson. So next week hopefully I'll have pictures.
HGA Bid as a grandbaby. HGA Bid as a grandbaby.
Hey.
All right.
Guys, thank you so very, very much for being here. George, can't thank you enough. And we'll see you back here next week.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. Thanks everybody for hopping on. Thank you, Evan. And we'll reach out to everybody via email with any other questions that we didn't get to. So thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next week. We'll see you next Thursday. Same time, same channel, yeah?
Absolutely. Adios.
All right, bye, you all. Thank you so much.